Hello, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Flux Motorsport TV. It's 8 PM, it's Thursday evening again, and it's time for our GT1 Championship. But as per usual, you're here with your host, Lecky2000, and I am joined in the commentary box by our one and only Mr. McToasty. How are you this evening, Mr. McToasty?
I'm doing alright. Glad to see another GT1 race get to watch. Hopefully more predictable weather this time, although at this point might as well call it the adverse weather GT1 series.
It is the wet weather championship, isn't it? So,
yeah.
And just before we move on, actually, is it Mr. McToasty? Is it McToasty? I.e. Mick? Or is it just McToasty?
It's just McToasty, yeah.
Okay. I would have quite liked it if it was Mick Toasty, but I know it's not. But yeah, I think you're right. I think weather here today is going to be another key factor. Is wet again in qualifying. We've got some wet weather predicted for the start of the race, but it is set to clear up this afternoon. But as we know, the weatherman doesn't always get it right. Going back onto last week, and there was all sorts of weird and wonderful weather coming throughout the middle of the race. Didn't have to upset the drivers. Did make one or two pit stops. Quite have a fingers and thumbs of fur. People struggling to get the right tyre compound selected. So yeah, hopefully a bit more of a relaxed race in terms of pit strategies. But I'm not sure about the corners here, McToasty. The corners here are going to claim some victims, I think.
Yeah, I did have a quick drive around. Did a couple laps. Not in the GT1, something a bit easier for me to drive, but yeah, the water seems to pool around some strange places on this track. You would think they would be more on the low points, but maybe it has like a crest or a higher point in the middle of the track where the water runs off. But turns 2 and 14, which is the final corner. We'll have to look and see if with those corners how much water gathers.
I think you're right. I think not as well just in the corners, but obviously with the wet weather, adverse conditions, there's going to be some guys that are not quite able to get their braking points right. Maybe running the front end of the car, getting a little bit of understeer, going a little bit wide. If they do go wide and they get onto the rubbers or on into any of the the faux grass, the green stuff at the side of the track that you can see that's just next to Linger's car there. If you get on that and then try and put the power down, it's a whole world of pain. Certainly the panels without the traction controller, it's really going to struggle there. Might get away with it a little bit in the Merc, maybe even the Toyota, but that panels, if you get that panels on the rubbers and start to put the hammer down, she's going to bite you. So I think the guys are really going to have to watch that here today. So anyway, let's just go over to our standings and take a quick look at how we did last week, what we've got in terms of the standings currently, and what our predictions are for this week. So just taking a look at our winner last week, which was Blankfile actually, at Road America. So Road America last week, Blankfile, if you remember, came in first, though, taking the full 35 points, but certainly not a clean sweep for Blankfile in that race. Pole position was actually set by Linger Bazingen. If you remember, he didn't get a great start from that race. He did fall back a little bit, and then we had carnage in turns 1 and 2, which saw a couple of drivers pick up penalty points actually, which we'll come to in just a moment. But fastest lap out there being set by the guy that we've expected to do so well in this championship, but not done anywhere near as well as we know that he could do, which is Merlin. It's the guy you can see on camera now, just coming through, like you said, like the puddle on turn 14 there. Merlin setting the fastest lap out last week. So all the guys having a slightly different approach to the wet weather setups. Merlin clearly has got some speed in it, but overall only finished 5th, so didn't quite get as far as up the table he did. Had a great recovery drive though, from what I remember. So just running down the table though for our finishing positions for last week, Linger Bazinga came in 2nd, and Little God came in 3rd. Again, great finish from Linger Bazinga and Little God. His first time in the championship, I believe, this time round, and really performing well in that panels. So Ski came in 3rd place. In 4th we had Snell and Bongo. And in 5th, like I said, we had Merlin. In 6th spot we had Jack Dementes. In 7th, Dirk Diggler. In 8th place came Immortalis. And in 9th place came our new entrant Booth Jumbo. So improvement on the race he had the previous week, which came in 11th place. So moving on up for Booth, and hopefully he can do the same again this week. In 10th place we had Murphy. In 11th place we had Best Gamer, and in 12th place we had Jelmer. And coming up to round off the finishing position for last race was Green Gaming in 13th spot. We did have a couple of people who either could not start or could not finish the race. So Destroyer didn't get to start the race. Connection lagged out, I believe, beforehand, and TC Thrasher didn't manage to finish the race. So had an early dart. I was ditched out the race before good time. So that's how things looked last week, but what does that mean in terms of standings going into this round? So this is what we all want to know with Toasty. This is what I think all the people want to hear about. Is what are the scores, George Dawes? Where are we at now? Well, top of the shop so far with 166 points is, as we well know, Lincoln Bazinga. I didn't think we expected anything differently. But right behind, Little God in 2nd place. So 3rd in last race, all the way up to 2nd in the championship with 145. Not too far behind him, Immortalis with 133. So just on the three top runners from our championship there, mate Toasty, I think we've got. I mean, I'm just getting my fingers and toes out here, but I think that's around about 33 points in between the leaders, 166, 133, if my maths are correct. So it's, I mean, coming into this round, we've still got a couple of rounds left after this. It's not impossible for Immortalis or Little God to catch Linga Bazinga, but he's certainly opening that gap up there with 21 points to Little God and 33 points to Immortalis. So do you think this is going to be a runaway championship for Linga Bazinga? Do you think he's going to get away with it here?
He's going to have to be consistently in the podium places for the last 3 races, getting towards the end of the season now. We've seen Immortalis do really well in Zolder, making that strategy work, and also in the wet. So I think he's a one to watch for this race also.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe a bit of a secret tactician. Just seen him having a bit of an accident there, just going round, I think. But yeah, I think he's definitely one to watch, one to keep an eye on. Just in terms of, is he going to play a different strategy? A bit of an underdog, I think, in terms of out pace, but certainly making the that Mert work. Certainly around pit stops, able to keep the tyres a little bit hotter, a little bit more in tune for a little bit longer. He did fall off, if I remember, right at the back of the race at Zolder, but it was enough to keep him in front, and that's all that counts. So just coming back to our standings, over in 4th place then, behind the 1, 2, 3 of Linga, Little God and Immortalis, we have Jack Dementes, who we've just seen on camera not too long ago. Jack comes in 4th place with 91 points, so I think it's going to be a bit of a stretch for Jack to potentially get top spot. Now that's a 75 point gap. Technically it's possible, I think, with the points, but I think it's a big ask there. Just behind Jack Dementes we've got Blankfile, who comes in 5th spot with 90 points, and literally just behind him is Jelmer in 6th spot with 88. Murphy comes in closely following those in 7th with 87 points. So 87 to 91 points there. Really only 4 points split in those between 4th and 7th spot. Jack, Blankfile, Jelmer and Murphy. Coming in a little bit behind that, so a 10 point gap there, jump to 8th place for Dirk Diggler. And coming in just behind him is Merlin on my standings, or Totem Coffee as you see him on screen, with 74 points. In 10th place we've got Snell and Bongo with 59. Destroyer in 11th with 49 points. Best Gamer or Survivor as you see him in 12th place with 29 points. TC Thrasher in 13th with 27. Booth Jump moving up the championship table up to 14th with 20 points, and Green Gaming in 15th spot with 8 points. Now just coming over to Green Gaming actually, Green Gaming will be missing our race here today, so Green Gaming is serving a race ban and won't be joining us today, so that's 9 points in his driving licence, which I believe, is a race ban. 3 for caution, 6 for a qualifying ban, and 9 for a race ban. 12 points is a championship ban and your licence revoked for the rest of the season, and the driver put under review, which is not what you want really. If you're a driver getting dragged into the steward's office, the stewards can be exceptionally mean and they've got very pointy fingers, from what I hear. So I mean, you've been in the steward's office, Mick Toasty. Do they hold back when they're giving out the steward's inquiries, or is it a friendly affair?
I don't think they hold back. No, it's they definitely you know, make sure that each driver is held to the same standard, and yeah, not they can be friendly, but not when handing out point license points.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they do tend to be you know, rather strict with it and do it down to a T. But just coming back to the other penalty points that we had from last week, there was a 5-second penalty issued for Booth Jumbo. There he is in the white panels, and that was for a minor avoidable. I believe going into turn 2 with Murphy, I think it was. So them two coming together, and Murphy picking up a little bit of damage there. So just going to be careful with that going in. Difficult track though, Road America. We've seen that time and again, I think, haven't we? Just coming into turns 1 and 2, the driver's going to try and go side by side, and somebody getting pinned out to the, pinballed out to the outside. I think it happened to Little God just in front of that incident, where he had it coming together with Immortality and Snell and Bongo as well. So even the guys at the front of the grid there, not managing to get away with, completely unscathed. But yeah, a couple of incidents. We did have another steward's inquiry that was overturned or rescinded from drivers. So just 2 of our drivers in the steward's office from last week, but one did result in a race ban. So just coming back to this evening then. So that is the scores, George Dawes. If you are just joining us, you just joined us halfway through our qualifying session for the GT1 here. So thanks very much for joining us. Make sure you do hit the like and subscribe button if you do like our videos and you want to see more of this stuff. And do hit the bell notification if you want to get notified of when the videos come out, and that'll keep you posted of all the action. So yeah, just coming to this week, Mr. Toasty, what do you think your predictions are so far? I mean, let's take a look at the board, shall we? Let's take a look at the timing board. Let's see what people are doing. But let's pick your brain. Let's see what you think. Okay, so Little got in first, Tottenham in second. 157s. I think they were mainly dry times though, by the looks of it. Do you think they're going to stay as they are? Do you think we're going to see anything different from the start of the race from what we've seen at the beginning of qualifying?
We'll have to see what the weather starts out as for the race. But again, yeah, looking at Merlin, he's had some great pace in the past in this championship, and we keep saying that he hasn't had the best outings, but this race could change that.
Yeah, I mean, we just come over to Merlin's standings. So far this season, he's 5 races entered, which is he's been there for every single race so far. Third, he's 1 podium finish, but I think he has got a couple of fastest laps in there as well. But unfortunately, 1 did not finish, so he did drop quite a considerable amount of points from one of the races. So yeah, unfortunately, I think that's just affected him there. But yeah, I would very much like to see Merlin do really well here. 158, 582 on our timing board currently, which is actually quite considerably in front of Lenga Bazinga. So Lenga Bazinga sat there in 3rd spot now. The track isn't really getting any drier. I don't think the rain is still coming down in our qualifying session. We've got 5 minutes to go here, and a lot of the guys opting to come into the pits now. So is this an indication that weather conditions are changing? Does look like there's a bit of sunshine breaking through those clouds now, but the rain is still coming down on camera. There's quite a lot of elevation changes here though at Brno. It does seem like quite a flat track. It does seem like quite a wide track, but it does go through quite the elevation changes. You see here, there's quite a large hill that is coming down into this right-hander. A lot of them again are adverse camber on the corners, so and just opting to jump back in the pits there. Just over with our pole set at present. Little God in that distinctive silver panels. He's made work so well for him so far this season. I'm really happy to see the panels doing well. Great sounding car, really awful looking thing, but great sounding car. I suppose that's subjective. But yeah, I think, and that is going to be a real problem. So what you've just seen there with Little God going round, the front end is a particularly difficult thing to master with the panels around this particular track, with all the weight being focused towards the rear of the car, it being shaped the way it is with the chassis. You would expect it to have a little bit of front end issues, and it does, particularly in the wet. So what do you think that's going to do in terms of tyre wear here? So I know a lot of the guys were complaining during the practice session of a lot of degradation on the Mercedes, but I'm not really hearing anything about the panels.
We could see the Panos drivers just stay out again, like Blankfile did it last time in Road America, and then the Mercedes, yeah, like you said, the Mercedes drivers might have to make a pit stop. Immortalis might not be able to make his classic strategy of not stopping.
Yeah, I think that it's maybe roles reversed a little bit here today in the Czech Republic. I think the panels may fare a little bit better, just mechanically because of what's being asked of it, compared to the Mercedes. I think the Mercedes has got to work harder, but I think it does a better job at it. I think it was a more versatile car for the championship. I think if you've chosen the Mercedes, or if you've been lucky enough to grab a Mercedes if it was free, then I think it's possibly the more adaptable, possibly the more recommended car in class. But today in the wet, I think that panels might just be able to take it. I don't think that's just a dry time that Little God set there to set the pole position lap at this stage, and obviously qualifying isn't quite finished yet, but I do think that's symptomatic of getting your car around the track first in the dry before the rain's really had a chance to set in. So still raining our qualifying session here. I did expect it to lighten up just a little touch as we came towards the end of qualifying and into our race, so hopefully we might see a bit of a break in between the sessions. Or certainly the rain ears off here, but I think we can see that water pooling now as Jalma just cleans out one of the corners there, so doing the job, getting some of the debris off the track for the marshals there, so that saved us a job later. No walking around for you, McToaster. Keep your jacket on in the warm.
A little bit about the track while we have time. The original track was an 18-mile course on public roads through a few villages that took about 12 minutes to get around. It's 128 turns. I think the Nürburgring Nordschleife has
128, you say?
Yeah, I think the Nordschleife has 73 turns, just for reference, so that's
almost
huge.
double.
Yeah, the track got...
And what was the track length there, Toasty?
18 miles. So I'm not
18
sure
miles, what a grueling track.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that in the wet?
And in the cars that they drove in the 1930s as well. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's I don't think you quite see the lap times that the guys are getting here today.
No.
in these GT1 cars, as we see Jalma actually slowing right down there on pit straight, so maybe he's got a problem with that car there. I'm not quite sure. He's waiting for the qualifying session to finish, possibly, as that's Merlin just coming across the line now, which he is indeed. So that is going to be it in terms of our qualifying session so far. Little God's got a clinch pole, and Merlin is going to take it in. Sorry, apologies, that was not Merlin. Merlin is just coming into the final sector now, by the looks of it, into sector 3. It was Destroyer, indeed it was. My apologies. And the difference you can tell is with the wing mirrors. As you see, Destroyer with the luminous green as opposed to the red wing mirrors. So apologies there, Destroyer. Destroyer currently sat 7th on our grid. And do you know, that's not a bad spot from Destroyer. I mean, I think what they're going to have to watch if they're in mid-pack is actually spinning off the line. I know the panels can struggle from time to time getting off there in the wet. The Toyota, not without its problems. The Mercedes doesn't tend to spin too much with the traction control and it being just a little bit more planted. But certainly the panels on the Toyota have been known before now to go round off the line and cause a bit of a mix-up on the grid. So I'll stick with Destroyer here just to see if we can improve with that 2 minutes 6 lap time. I think that's John that he's got just behind him. It is, so these two, less than 0.2 of a second in between their lap times. I think they're both on a hot lap here. And it was that panels that we saw just ditched on the grass there on the inside. I think he may well have reset to pit box now. Could well have been Dirt Diggler actually. As he comes through turn 14 through a huge puddle now. As you see the car just sliding there. And that may well have affected his time. Yep, no improvement there as you come across the line. So, coming through to race 6 at Brno, we have a Little God in pole position. So, better and better for Little God. Had a bit of a dip last week, but returning to form, winning the week prior to that. So, Little God back on top in second place. Merlin. So, predictions from you then, McToasty, may well come true. Merlin coming second place with a 1:58.5. Still half a second difference though, so quite a gap between first and second in terms of the lap times. But I think that again is down to a drier track. In third spot comes Linga Bazinga. In fourth is Blankfile. In fifth comes Immortalis. In sixth comes Jelmer. In seventh comes Destroyer. In eighth comes Snarling Bongo. At ninth is Beef Jumbo. 10th Diggler, 11th all the way down Murphy, which I'm surprised to see, and Survivor down in 12th place. It looks like we've had a couple of drivers leave due to a potential lobby issue. I think we've lost Jack de Menzies in the midst of all that. So just as our drivers line up on track, we'll just go over to the pit box and see what we can get. Yeah, it does look like he's had a disconnection. So unfortunately Jack de Menzies won't be joining us this evening. It looks like we potentially had one or two others that have been dragged with him.
That's
a Green Game missing Jack de Menzies should be missing now. So that would take our grid up to 13 drivers. So I'm sure there is at least 2 drivers that have gone out in that action as well. Booth Jumbo looks like he's not made it through onto the grid, so he'll be kicking himself for that one. Internet God's getting involved there.
Yeah, I always do like to see how the Toyota fares against the other cars.
Yeah, it's a shame that I think we could have seen a real upset with Jack there getting in the action. We know that qualifying isn't always indicative of what the race is going to be like. And I think we just saw, I mean, I don't know what you saw on camera then, but I think we just saw Merlin trying to creep forward there. Did you catch that on camera, McToasty? Just an edging forward there at the green car just to the left-hand side of the screen at the bottom left-hand corner. Does look like he stopped it, and it does look like he's just within the yellow mark, so potentially just repositioning the Mercedes there, just getting it pushed right up to the line. If it was you on grid, inside or outside, which line would you prefer, McToasty?
I would want the inside corner here because exit of turn 1, inside of turn 2, you have that puddle already the water already pooled up, and you don't want to go through that. You'll lose a lot of speed.
Yeah, so sorry, just a message coming through from Booth Jumbo there, also getting disconnected from the lobby. So, but as our timing lights come on here, and the guys get underway. That's Blankfeld there, you see with his lights on, Linga Bazinga coming in third spot on the grid, so a bit of a reshuffle as there. Go, go, go. And that is that iMotorsports getting through again. So a great start from there from iMotorsports. And that's the second race in a row that we've seen him do that. He's going to try and muscle his way up through. Almost 4 wide going into turn 1. Little God gets the better of it. iMotorsports coming in second place. Looks like he might stick that round Merlin around the outside. It is Totem Cough now just slotting in third. Linga Bazinga's going to try and go for that spot though. As we just come onto the straight now, just coming into turn 3. And as we go into turn 3, it is Linga Bazinga, iMotorsports just behind him. And just moving into position 3 now in front of Snell and Bongo and Merlin, who are currently fighting it out. And it looks like Merlin's got the better bit, but that's allowed Blackfile to come through. So Blackfile now also trying on the inside. Was that almost a touch there between those two? And they've thought better of it.
Immortal's got a jump start, I think.
We saw there was a penalty there, it looks like, from Immortalis. I don't think that's going to slow him down though. I don't think that's going to stop him. He's going to continue persevering through. And that's a battle just as if for 7th place is Jelma coming into this downhill S section now. Really difficult to try and stick it there on the outside. So that will allow Snell and Bongo to try and come through. Still toe to toe here, and Snell and Bongo slipping in behind. So nothing but action on the start of lap 1 as we go back over to our leaders here with Little God and Immortalis. So Immortalis is stuck right with Little God, less than half a second in it, so literally just praying, waiting for a mistake. One thing we haven't mentioned here is, as well, and I think we tend to forget about this sometimes when we've got wet weather, is the amount of aero that these cars displace, and actually what happens to the drivers being able to control the cars. You know, with the reduced visibility of the red hitting the windscreen, and with the aero, I think we tend to try and forget that. Aero upset on these cars, with the line cars coming through like that, it is going to be really difficult. And I think Snell and Bongo's just gone past how it was. Snell and Bongo just coming through on the inside there, just to take P6 from Jelma. Jelma looking like he's not happy about that, and weaving all over the back of him under the brakes. Looking not to try and lock up and hit him there, but he's done okay. Doesn't seem like he's lost too much in terms of pace. But Snell and Bongo getting a decent exit from that corner. And just behind him we've got Murphy. So Murphy moving up through the order there as Destroyer and Dirt Diggler are moved down through the pack. So only 10 cars remaining in our race here. So we have had a bit of an issue with taking 2 or 3 drivers out. So I'll come back to you a little bit after with a pit report and find out exactly what those drivers had to say. And going back over to our leaders. So 4 minutes gone, currently only on lap 2, so we don't expect to see massively improved lap times. 2 minutes a lap are in excess of our expected here throughout this race, which is possibly the least amount of laps that I think we'll see in any of our races so far in the GT1s. I think it's going to be some of the more grueling laps, certainly by the time they get to the end of this race. So just coming back to our action out here on track. Blackfile coming up into 4th place spot, just in front of Merlin now, so Merlin managing to fend off Snell and Bongo and run right up onto the back of Blackfile now. And Blackfile not a million miles away from Linga Bazinga, so Linga Bazinga not quite got the pace that Little God and Immortalis have here today. He did say he was struggling a little bit coming into this race, and it looks like potentially Blackfile might be catching him there. So whether Linga Bazinga is trying to play a longer game and trying to think about, as Merlin goes very wide there, that's Merlin all over the grass, comes back on, but Snell and Bongo will get the run onto him now to come into this turn. So that's Snell and Bongo through it on the inside with ease, and Merlin's going to struggle to try and get the traction down there. And look as they come through this puddle, as the spray comes up, there you go, just as they come there on the exit of the corner through the left-hander, and great big massive puddle, and the spray just shoots up into the driver behind his face. And if you're not expecting that, that really can disconcert a driver.
Yeah, they're going to have to start changing their line, taking a tighter line through turn 1 to avoid that as it gets larger.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not just turn 1, turn 14's almost as bad. And we saw when Merlin went off track there, on the exit of near enough any corner, if you start to get that wrong and run wide, go on the green stuff, it can really affect you. I think he was trying to get that car back on track, but he didn't have any traction. The car just wasn't responding. So and turning it would have darted him straight across the track and into the wall. So you've got to be really, really careful if you do leave the track in these kind of conditions, especially with the amount of power that these have got. What a great battle that we're seeing here for 5th spot between Snell and Bongo and Merlin. Just in front there is another battle going on between Linga Bazinga and Blankfile, which we'll go over to in just a moment, as these two look like they're starting to separate out here just a bit. In fact, Merlin coming really late on the brakes there, so managing to close that gap right back up with Snell and Bongo as they come through onto the uphill section through turns 11 and 12. Again, really steep inclination here as they come up the hill. It's not really easy to see from the camera angles, but it's a massive, massive hill that as the car, the engine really bogs down and tries to struggle to pull it up. I've got a stray cone which Snell and Bongo I think just devoured and just sucked that cone straight in, and surely that's going to slow the car down. And just going forward, as we said, Linga Bazinga and Blankfile just separated out a little bit, so Blankfile managing to get the run and get that manoeuvre done on Linga Bazinga, and get a little bit of space opened out in front of him now, just over a second and a half in front. I don't expect, unless Blankfile starts to have tyre degradation issues, which, like I said, I think the Mercedes is going to suffer worse for that, then we should see that gap increase further. Potentially he's going to catch up to the back of eMotorsports, especially if eMotorsports is, as you see Snell and Bongo, they're actually just behind that 5th spot. Snell and Bongo getting rough on the exit, at the same exit where Merlin did in the lap previous, in lap 3. Snell and Bongo just going on the exit there and trying to put the power down, and you saw how wibbly that car got then in that curling Dominion car. So I think these two are going to potentially slug it out for the majority of this race. I think very similarly matched, similar in lap times. Snell and Bongo looks quick on sections that Merlin isn't, and vice versa, and Merlin looks particularly good on the brakes here. Just behind them to Murphy's 7th spot. Murphy really didn't qualify well, all the way down towards 3 from the bottom on the timing board in qualifying, but looks like he's got some consistency now in this race. 2:05s, which is the same lap time that Merlin set just in front of him. Yeah, looks like he's managed to get a handle of that car now, as we see Destroyer and Jelma coming up behind. So Jelma's dropped back quite a few places though. Jelma down in 9th spot. As we go over back to our battle between Snell and Bongo and Merlin here for 5th spot. So if you are just joining us, you are about 10 minutes in, just there or thereabouts, into our 6th race here at Brno circuit in the Czech Republic for our Flux Motorsport GT1 Championship. If you are looking to get involved in our championships, please do come over to FluxMotorsport.com and hit the driver sign up button, which will take you through to our Discord server, where you can get involved in our races and our community races, which is more daily action, as well as our special events which are coming up in the next few weeks, I believe. Is that right, McToasty? I think is that when the special events start to go out?
So, yeah. Looking forward to it.
So I couldn't tell you what it is at this stage. It's still well under wraps, but from what I hear, it's going to be something a little bit different than what we had last time. Obviously our last special event was a rally event round, well, it was One Night of Hell, which was won by our one and only Pogo Mojo. So if you are looking to get involved in our championships or any of the other services that we offer, then come on down to fluxmotorsport.com. Don't forget, if you are already a member, or if you really like what we do, don't forget to go over to the Flux Motorsport /donate page. Anything that you do give goes straight back into the community, so anything that you do give is appreciated, but only give what you can afford. So back to our action on track here. Still on with the battle for Merlin and Snell and Bongo. I think this is it's going to be just mano a mano between these two for the vast majority of the evening. We're still having some. I think we're having a bit of a kick-off in the pit lane. Booth Jumbo really not happy about the not being allowed to start this race. I think Booth Jumbo potentially was trying to say he's got himself to the edge of the pit lane as the race was starting, and the stewards there haven't actually allowed him to start. So Booth Jumbo, despite his protests, will miss this race and won't be able to pick up any points. So we're going to have to deal with that after the race, whether he's going to get any reprimands or anything more severe. Have been instances before where marshals have been had to restrain drivers. It doesn't happen often, but it does run deep with the drivers. They are obviously very competitive by nature, so hopefully Booth can try to shake this one off and come back next week stronger. But yeah, just coming back over to our tyre wear situation. So with the camber that these guys are running, obviously a lot of the guys, as we see a bit of flashing there from Starling Bongo, there's some of the guys running reduced camber in this race, obviously because of the adverse conditions of the adverse camber on the track. But in terms of tyre wear, do you think we're going to see one pit stop here? Do you think it's going to be potentially two?
I think it's going to be at least one for the Mercedes. We were saying the Mercedes cars have a bit more degradation throughout this track, but possibly not for some of the Panhard drivers.
Yeah, I think from discussions with a couple of our Dutch drivers in the practice session beforehand, I'm going to suspect that potentially we might see two pit stops depending on what the weather's doing. I mean, it is still wet out here on track. I mean, you can see the spray coming from the cars, but I think the rain here stopped. I don't want to tempt fate. I mean, we did this last week, didn't we? And what we had was a situation where it was bits and spats and the weather wouldn't really make its mind up. So I don't want to jinx the guys and tempt fate, because that's the last thing a driver wants. Come in, change tyres, and then the conditions change again, and you've just wasted a minute and a half in the pits. So, but I think the guys are potentially going to have to at least come in for one tyre change, and the question is, hard or soft? Because if the rain stopped this early on in the race, that's going to make a difference. Potentially soft tyres here is going to see a two-stop strategy from some drivers, but obviously a harder compound is going to last longer. But is a harder compound going to be the right option here in the are we going to get a dry enough line? Is the track going to be hot enough to actually take that hard tyre? So I can't give you the operating temperatures for these tyres. I'll obviously we can have a look on using the special powers of the internet to what the exact tyre temperature should be for the GT1 cars. Do know for the touring cars, but I must admit, GT1s, it does escape me. But I don't think hard tyres are probably going to be the best option here today. Track temperatures, looking at them, are down as low as 9 degrees. It's been, I think, at points today. Highs of 13 in the Czech Republic, according to our in-game weather. I think actually colder than that actually in real life. I believe they had snow, so the guys are lucky they did not actually have snow in qualifying, which we wouldn't do to them. We're not that cruel. But yeah, definitely difficult conditions, and I think potentially I'm going to suspect at least one or two guys here do a two-stop strategy. So just going back over to our leader, Little God, just coming through onto lap 8 there. 2 minutes, we're seeing as far as his last lap's concerned, and 2:01 from blank file. So I think as we see the guys coming through, we're going to start seeing them putting quicker and quicker laps for the most part. Yep, Linga Bazinga 2:01 and all the 7s. So I think the track's starting to dry up now as we see Little God just coming through into turn 3 on near enough what looked like a dry line there on the straights there at Toasty. So turns 3 and 4 still look pretty wet as he comes through there. and him going just a little bit wide, so curse to the commentator there. Probably won't get the race director in too much of a tiz-was over that off. Does tend to be a little bit more lenient when the track is wet like this, but as the track dries up, that'll start to change. Immortality's just coming through behind him. So what do you think he's going to do in terms of pace? So now the track has dried up, do you think that is going to change the dynamic of what we've got in terms of drivers, in terms of the splits between the two? I'll just try to bring the splits up.
Yeah, we've seen before, even with wet tires still on, even worn wet tires, when it stops raining, when the track is just a little bit damp still, the times seem to come down.
I think you're right, Matosti, but I'm just wondering what's going to happen in terms of the setup that they've got, because obviously the cars are set up for a wet tyres and a wet track with a bit more roll, a bit more of a softer front end to them, and obviously with the Mercedes being a bit more versatile, a bit more dynamic, I'm just wondering whether the panels is really going to suffer because of that. And it looks like we've had Merlin and Snarling Bongo switch place, so that dry weather looks like it's played into Merlin's hands. Obviously it's still wet out here. You can see there's still a lot of rain on track and a great big puddle there still on turn 14. So I think if any of the guys do start to come in for dry tyres, it's not going to be just yet. Another flash from Snarling Bongo there. I wonder what that flash is for as he's coming over the line. It must be signifying to his pit crew. Get the bacon butty ready, I'll be in shortly, he says. So a quick run through our grid. Sorry, McSofty.
I think he's trying everything he can to throw off Merlin in front.
That's from way downtown. I mean, even in these light conditions, I mean, he's going to have to try a little bit harder than that, I think, to start the driver from that distance. But yeah, just a little rundown of our grid today, as we are currently coming up to the halfway point during our round 6 race here at Brno. We've got Little God in first place, and just behind him there you can see Immortalis and Blankfile. Now Blankfile, you saw the indicator coming up there. The Blankfile's just starting to close Immortalis in, as Immortalis and Blankfile come through for second and third place respectively. Linga Bazinga's dropped down to 4th place. I believe he was 3rd on the grid, so only 1 spot, but he was up to 2nd place initially after the first corner, but has managed to only secure himself 4th spot, and his lap times aren't quite the pace of the leaders, just a second or so off. Currently in 4th spot. In 5th spot is Merlin, or Totenkopf as you see him, and he's starting to really and he starts to go around there again. Curse the commentator, McToasty. It really is a thing, isn't it? And I'm sure the guys don't all watch the stream whilst they're racing, and surely they can't know that they're being watched at that time. But it does seem to be a real issue when the commentator focuses on you. And again, the cheeky flash of the lights there from Snarling Bongo as he comes across the line.
Oh, maybe he is signaling to his pit crew.
Now Murphy just starting to catch these guys up in 7th spot now. So Murphy putting in a 2-minute 2 there, a little bit faster than Merlin, certainly in front, and certainly keeping pace with these guys. So Murphy will be hoping to do what he's done a couple of times so far this season, which is turn it on towards the end and just see if he can finish strong. Destroy just behind him there in 8th spot coming to turn 3, and the gentleman just coming through the same section into turn 3 as well. And I believe that's dirt there you just see in the background. It is dirt also coming up through that great big puddle down into turn 3. So Gelma and dirt coming both through in 9th and 10th spot there. So back over to the battle for 5th spot, which I think where most of the action is going to be remaining today, as we've got Totenkopf that's literally all over the back of Snarling Bongo, and what certainly looks like a dry line now. So the vast majority of this track looking like it's it's dried out. No one's come in for tyres yet, and I'm wondering whether that's going to start to be an issue now. Do seem like they're putting in faster laps for now. 1:59 I think is the fastest lap time that we've had out in our session. That's currently set by Little God. But whether they're going to start to drop off again, and I think what we'll start to see now is cars hunting for the wet line and trying to find where they can cool the tyres down whilst they start to overheat, and both the cars starting to wiggle a little bit there as they come through that massive elevation through into turn 30, and see the puddle's cleared. It's certainly not cleared for turn 14. I think that's going to be there for the remainder. It's quite a deep puddle, that one, Toasty.
Yeah, we've seen drivers take varying lines through turn 14. So if they don't all take the same line, then it's not going to clear.
And I think potentially we've seen a spin there from eMotorsports, is it? eMotorsports now's dropped back to 3rd spot, Blankfile up to 2nd spot. So Blankfile and Little God all the way out in front. That's 2 penalties, I believe, at the front. I think that's the first time I've seen that so far this season. I think that's the first time I've seen that so far in the GT1. Full stop. So unprecedented here. I think Brno is the track for the panels, certainly in the wet. And they don't look like they're slowing down. If anything, they look like they're getting quicker, and the Mercedes is getting a little slower. So 159 from Little God, 159 from Blankfile. eMotorsports really looked like he struggled on that last lap due to potentially the spin, but 201's being set really by the Mercedes.
They're getting close to the qualifying time.
It's starting to get that way, I think. Yeah, I think potentially what you'll see is if the track stays dry. I mean, the clouds just look very overcast, but if it does stay dry, I think we're going to see him push past that. I think we'll see him into the 158s, 157s at least. If the track gets drier and drier. There's that little lock up there from Destroyer. So this is Destroyer on the back of Murphy, the action that we're watching here. Less than half a second in it. And I think Destroyer's just trying to size Murphy up. I think he wants to try and take that 7th place. I think he potentially knows he's got the pace to try and do so, but trying to push past, trying to get yourself out that dirty area and onto a wet line, and the car in front's on a dry line, it's not the right option. So Destroyer just being patient here, just trying to line one up as he goes through turn 14. And Murphy's the first one, I think, to come in the pits. So rather than fight Murphy taking a pit stop there, and let's just go over to him just to see whether he comes in and does go for dry tyres. And the fuel's going in, and no tyres, not by the looks of it. A little bit of damage repair, I think, potentially, and that's Murphy out the pits. So Murphy drops down to 9th place, but has got his pit stop done earlier, and whether that's going to see him, I think that's a good call for Murphy. I think coming in now where the track's just starting to dry, by the time the guys have run, another half lap, or by the time Murphy gets round and gets his car up to pace after he's come out the pits, I think it's near enough going to be a dry track, with the exception of turn 14 and potentially turn 1. But even turn 1, I think the water does stop pooling there eventually, and he's displaced by a lot of angry GT1 cars. So yeah, still on board with the battle for 5th spot here between Totenkopf and Starling Bongo. But a driver to mention so far, Dirk Diggler. Dirk Diggler we don't usually mention during the races because he's not really in the battles. He tends to keep his nose clean. A driver that just tends to race his own race, and hopefully we can see him pick up some points. He's done it a couple of times so far this season, finished a little bit better than mid-pack, certainly without blistering lap times in the qualifying, without actually really setting any blistering lap times out in the race. Just steady, consistent lap times, pushing at 85-90%, making sure he's in the comfort zone. Is really Dirk's game. So I think that's exactly what he's going for here again today. Certainly wet weather is not the time to start doing things that are going to try and push you past another driver. And is that Murphy just in the background, just taking a little bit of anger out on the corners there, just coming through turn 12. So looks like he's potentially just got a little bit of damage there on the front right of that Mercedes, so he will be annoyed at that if he's just come into pit stop and already picked up damage on the front of that car, and he's straight back in the pit. So Murphy really did not choose the correct tyres, or didn't get the tyres at all, as we saw. So back in the pits for Murphy. And I believe that's Merlin that we've seen now. So is that a pit stop from Merlin as well? Did we miss that in following the action between 5th place?
I'm not sure if he did pit.
That's a long way to drop back from a spin, but potentially I think what we've seen there is, like you said, if there's no pit stop, I certainly didn't see him coming for a pit stop. If that's not pit related, that is potentially spin related, and there doesn't seem to be any damage on the car though. So we'll have to go to a post-race interview, I think, for that one with Merlin, but certainly trying to put the moves on Dirty Diggler, as Dirty Diggler actually lets it through on that corner there by the looks of it, and opting for a very, very wide line there. So Merlin moves up to 7th spot. I don't think he's he's got that car locked down quite as much as you think he may have, due to that spin there. But again, great pace in the wet. Just back over to our battle for 5th and 6th, which is now currently being replaced with Destroyer and Starling Bongo as opposed to Merlin Starling Bongo, and now Starling Bongo into the pits as well as Linga Bazinga. So both Dutch guys choosing to pit together. Wonder whether this is strategy related. I do have it on good authority that they were sharing spanners in the pit lane earlier, which is completely fine. It's not against any of the rules of Flux Motorsport. Sharing advice and setups and even spanners in the pit lane is fully encouraged. The guys trying to physically get the best out of these machines they can, and obviously the bad conditions making it even more important for them to want to try and help each other out. As we see Starling Bongo just leaving the pits there, so quick pit stop there from Starling Bongo. It's like he's got that pit crew behaving, which is more than can be said for Murphy, which now drops back down to 10th spot, just coming up to the back of Jelmer into turn 14 through the puddle. So not into the pits this time, and he's right onto the back of Jelmer there. So looks like he's got that car hooked. Whatever he needed to change, he's going to got changed, and all the better for it. So 158 from Jelmer on the last lap. Murphy looks like potentially he's going to be putting similar lap times in himself now, as Steve comes in and just puts a 2-minute lap time in. So potentially some issues there from what we've got at the front of the grid as well. But currently we've got a fight at the back of the grid, as Murphy's all over the back of Jelmer there. Just tried to get up through the inside, can't quite do it as they come in into the downhill, into this right-hander. Murphy has a sniffer on the inside and thinks, no, I'm going to go back in, and he pushes too hard and takes the inside. Just about misses the wall, gets it back on track. So no damage picked up there from Murphy, but yeah, just too much of the rubber there on the inside, I think. And Jelmer lives to fight another day, so I think he's used up one of his lives there, Jelmer. I mean, I'm not quite sure how many lives Dutchmen get, whether it's like cats and they get 9 lives, or they get a different number of lives. I'm not sure, McToasted, but he's definitely used one of them there. So
I've been told in the YouTube chat that Merlin has pitted, so he potentially has soft tires on right now.
Right, okay, so that is interesting. So Merlin currently 159.7, not the fastest on track at the moment. That's currently being set by Immortalis. But I think we'll see Steve's lap time start to come down a little bit there. I think that is just a bit of a wibble on one of the puddles potentially, and I can see a couple of seconds introduced into someone's lap time there. So Bit of an inconsistent lap, I think, from our leader in the last one, but we'll see as he comes into lap 16, that lap time changes and comes down in it. But certainly looking up and down our grid here, very sporadic at this stage. Jalma setting 157s, sorry, which is currently the fastest on track. You then go up to Linga Bazinga with the 224 or Blackfire with the 215, and then third place is setting 2 minutes. So literally lap times all over the shop at the moment. Just less than 15 minutes to go in our GT1 race here this evening as Lil God comes into the pit, so that's our leader in the pits. So I think that was actually the tyres, as we saw his lap time drop there as he came through into lap 15, and iMotorsports coming in directly behind him as well, so there's going to be no running on that a little bit further. iMotorsports actually might, if he continued to push on, he actually might have got the jump as he came through onto this lap, depending on how long the pit stop was. Again, released at a very similar time. I think iMotorsports would have been better off staying out though. So that is going to let Destroyer through into second spot. So all the way up from 9th spot, Destroyer now has come all the way through, and he's currently in second spot. Now, we've yet to see him pit, is that right?
I don't think he's pit yet, no.
No, I don't believe he has. That was Blackfire just going a little bit wide there. He kept it on the black stuff, but back of the car just twitched a bit there as he came out of turn 2. But Destroyer put in 2 minutes on what appears to be the wet tyres here, and I think that is where he's now just starting to push just a little bit hard. So anybody who's not come in, I think we will potentially see coming in as Blackfire starts to put manoeuvres on him. Backs out into that corner, lets him run it a little bit wide and goes straight through. Great jump there, great manoeuvre from Blackfire to take second spot. Blackfire not actually impressed with the track and the conditions as he came into this race. Wet weather, I think, starting to get a few of the GT1 drivers down. He's been 5 out of the 6 races that we've had, I believe, have been wet races so far in the GT1s, or at least somewhat wet races. But it looks like with 12 minutes to go in our session, we've got a little bit of sunshine, which I actually don't think is going to make them very happy. As we see, iMotorsports just coming up to the back of Destroyer there, so this is the battle for P3. iMotorsports getting right up behind him there. So iMotorsports not completely keeping his nose clean over the past 7 days in terms of inquiries. I think he has been involved in an inquiry himself in the steward's office, not in the GT1s. I believe it was only minor, and minor avoidable, I believe it was. But yeah, he's been in the steward's office himself this week. Certainly getting the manoeuvres done clean there today, as literally, as we mentioned, Destroyer comes into the pitch. So I think we're giving him a play-by-play for the drivers here. But really impressed with the penalties. I mean, what do you think about these two today? It's clear that they've got something around this track with a 1-2, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely seems to suit these cars. Not too many tight and slow corners, which I think the Pano seems to struggle on. So it's more of a medium to high speed, long sweeping corners, which the Pano seems to excel at. So it makes sense that they're up there.
Yeah, I think. I was just seeing. I was just about to say. I think potentially the Merc starting to struggle. Just because of the adverse camber, just because of what the requirements of the track are, and literally as you saw him come around the apex where the camber fell away, the car went round. So yeah, around most tracks I think I would probably opt for the Mercedes, but Brno, quite a strange track with strange requirements. I think the Toad, as they commonly refer to it, is the better option here. So just going back over to P4 and P5, which is Linga Bazinga in the black Mercedes in front, and Merlin in the green and gold one just behind him. But Merlin putting in a 1.59 in on the last lap, and Linga with a 1.56. So that does suggest that Linga's put a bit of a mistake on the previous lap, and his lap time started to drop. As we see Jelma coming into the pits there. But just while we're talking about these two for the battle for 4th and 5th, we've got a battle for the lead. Blankfile and Little God going toe to toe, less than half a second in it, and I think that Blankfile's going to get him. He has indeed. So Blankfile really making that car fly at the minute. 153.4s. That has got to be soft tyres that's allowing that to happen, and he's really starting to push that. So whether Steve can benefit and try and jump into the rope, try and find that dry line that Blankfile's clearly found. But I think that Blankfile in the last 10 minutes of this race has just blown the competition away. I think he's really going to turn it on here, and he's already a second in front of Little God. Yeah, Steve's struggling to keep up with the pace of that. He's got nothing in response to that. He's come right past him like he's in a different car altogether.
Do you think Blankfile might have a dry setup on that car and was just waiting for the weather to clear up?
I think he's played the cards very close to his chest. I think he's sandbagged about the race being wet and he didn't have a setup for it. And then, like Seabiscuit, as soon as the dry weather comes out, bish bash bosh, and on he goes. So, but to be fair, you can't blame the driver. That's exactly what you would hope a driver would do: keep his card close to his chest, and then outperform on the day. So, if he does win this one, I think it's been an absolute great a bit of planning on his part, some great strategy. And we just missed it though. Dirk Diggler going past Murphy. So, as Blankfile's gone past Little God, Dirk Diggler again turning up the heat on Murphy. Again, 156 from Dirk Diggler on the last lap, which is a great previous lap. So it looks like Dirk Diggler's coming in for a dry setup there, and that's really it's really going to pay dividends. So Murphy not able to looking like he's able to try and match that in terms of pace, a couple of seconds away potentially if he's going to let Dirk past him and get away in front. So we'll keep an eye on that battle though, just as we go back over to battle with the Mercedes for P5 and P6, and that is Gelmer, I believe, that's just in front, so not directly in competition, but just in front of that is Linga Bazinga. So 4th, 5th and 6th, not a million miles away from each other here, albeit separated by back marker. And Gelmer just getting out of the way there for Merlin to come through as they come through turn 2. Merlin currently not quite able to keep up with the lap times of Destroyer in front. 153 again from Destroyer, so another good lap there from Destroyer. I think we're going to see him closing right up to the back of Linga Bazinga. My apologies, Destroyer up into 4th spot now, and Linga Bazinga all the way down into 5th spot, so currently moving through the ranks. So Immortalis we've not really heard much about for the last 5 or 10 minutes, keeping his nose clean, setting in fairly decent laps. 158s and 159s though from Steve and Little God. Currently going to get him caught by a Destroyer behind. We've still got 6 minutes left in this session. He has got a 15-second gap that he does need to close up in order to close up to the back of Immortalis. So that is going to be a tall ask from Destroyer, but it is potentially possible if Immortalis is struggling. It looks like he is struggling quite a lot there, just coming into turn 1, and that was like we said, the hunting I think for the wet line. So he'll be looking for any puddles that he can, just try and cool those tyres down as they start to burn up yeah, definitely hunting for the wet line now as you see him shooting across track. The problem being though, when he shoots across track like that, that will be asking more and more from his tyres and potentially undoing any of the effect that he's having there. So potentially just slowing the car down. And Destroyer behind him, like I said, a good 15 seconds or so behind him. but I don't think it's actually impossible to catch him. 4 seconds a lap now being put in. It's still possible. But Little God definitely dropping further and further away from Blankfile now. Blankfile has got a 15-second gap to Little God. Still managing to hold out. I think Little God's just going to just keep doing what he's doing, and eMotorsports starts to and Destroyer starts to come through, and then so be it. But I think he's just going to try and keep his head down and keep the balance together and get the race finished here. So, like I said, just less than 5 minutes to go in our session. Quick rundown of the order. In first, we've got Blankfile. As we saw, in second place, we've got Little God. In third spot, we've got Immortalis. In fourth spot, we've got Destroyer. In fifth, we've got Linga Bazinga. Sixth spot, we've got Merlin. Seventh, Snell and Bongo. Eighth, we've got Murphy. Ninth, Dirk Diggler. And in 10th spot, we've got Gelman. On Martins, you can see him on screen there. Gelman not having a great race today. Looks like he could put some decent lap time when he wanted, which we know full well that Gelman can do. But really struggling to get that car through the difficult wet conditions here. So we're just on board with Linga Bazinga. 1:57 on his lap time from Linga Bazinga. Again, steady, consistent performance from Linga. I think again another driver that wasn't looking forward to this race, but he's managed to get through it just by keeping consistent laps together and not trying to push too hard. And I think we've seen the cars that have been pushing hard, the ones that really have been trying to fight, and be the guys that have really paid for it and ended up going, and literally as we say it there, Linga Bazinga goes round there, just coming into that S section, just again taking his front tyre on the rubbers, and that really snapping the back of the car around there and upsetting the weight on the front of the car. So Linga Bazinga not had the best day out here today, far cry from his usual performance, but yeah, Blankfile will be happy to if he can take it here with 2 minutes left to go to take first spot. I think he's that excited he's forgot to turn his wipers off. So as he comes through that puddle there. Yeah, I mean, I know the wiper blades aren't the most important part of the car, but I mean, you've got to think about your carbon footprint. You don't want to be wasting that.
I think what we might be seeing here is half the drivers when they pit went for soft tires and half went for wet tires, either thinking that the track wouldn't dry out this fast or betting that the rain would come back.
Well, and I think the sun has kind of broken through the clouds here a couple of times, but it does look like it's somewhat overcast still, and potentially I wouldn't have put it, put it down the rain wasn't going to come back either. It potentially still could. You never know. It's not over till it's over. So, but yeah, I think at this stage, the dry lines really serve some drivers, and the soft tyres have served some drivers a lot better. And like you said, the wet tyres really were potentially the wrong option there. I think we saw Murphy even struggled to get his pit crew to give him any tyres in the first instance. Then they had to come in a second time when the lap just following just to coax them into action. So again, pit stops potentially being a deciding factor here in this race, and it has made it for quite a spaced out race. But we have not been short of action at points during this race, and just coming through in the last minute, it certainly is no exception. As Snell and Bongo right up on the back of Merlin there, really looking for any way to get past him. Does look like he's got more pace than Merlin, as he tries to go for the inside and thinks better of it, swings back to the outside again, tries to make the manoeuvre now, does get the car up on the inside, so climb to the corner, but is going to put him on the outside for this one as they come all the way around. I really hate how adverse camber that corner is, but Merlin sticking that beautifully there, but allowing Snell and Bongo the inside for the start of the S's, and the outside as he comes through. The outside being a better line there on that corner, able to get the power down there, as you saw Merlin having a ditch on the brakes so the car didn't over rotate. Just a bit of a hillock, a bit of a bump on the inside of that corner does tend to make you over rotate the car. as they come down through turn 10 now. Up into again what is a very steep elevation of turn 11, which continues all the way up through into turn 12, and you do kind of get some idea there, just as you come up that hill, exactly how steep that was just from that camera angle. Snarling Bongo certainly getting the manoeuvre done on Merlin there. As we see a blank file coming round on what I believe is his last lap this time, so lap 23 I believe will be the last lap. Blank file looks like he's set to win this one. 20 seconds behind him, 28 seconds behind him is Little God in the silver panels, so 1-2s for the panels, looks like it here today. In third we've got eMotorsports just behind them, with Destroyer, yep, just coming into, actually no, Destroyer gets some wobbly there. I'm going to focus straight off him before he spins again. Linga Bazinga in 5th spot. Snarling Bongo in 6th. And Merlin right behind him in 7th. But Snarling Bongo getting the pace there, and we'll be pulling away from him. Murphy in 8th spot as Blackfile comes across the line for the win. Dirk Diggler and Jelmer in 9th and 10th. But a win today for Blackfile. A 1-2 for the Panos. I think we did call this even before the race that the Panos is going to fare well here today. But did you think that well?
I didn't think he was going to do that well, no.
No, it surprised me. Definitely surprised me too. But I think, yeah, the setup that Blackfile chose, just coming through into the second part, you know, the part of that race, maybe the last 15 minutes or so, whatever he did to get the pit crew on point there, he's obviously offered them beer after the race or something. There's some sort of bribery going on there, but they certainly did a number on that car, and he came out the box swinging. So great race there from Blackfile. I think overall a great drive from Steve as well, just behind him. Managed to stick out there, and to be fair, Steve probably had the hardest job, just trying to fend everybody off, make sure that he set the race pace, make sure the people didn't come past him, make sure he didn't spin even, and try and give that position up, and then just coming into the latter part of the race, superior tactics just played off, but a great drive there I think from Steve. Destroyer, possibly the most amount of positions dropped in game, is that in this race? Biggest faller, biggest riser was I think Destroyer in this race, and that's our 1, 2, 3 for this evening. So just as the guys are coming through, just got a few seconds left in our race now, as they will come across the line. It looks like Immortalis, it will come in 5th behind Snarling Bongo. Sorry, behind Linga Bazinga. Snarling Bongo will come in 6th. Yeah, Merlin in 7th. As they just filter across our line there now. Yeah, Murphy in 8th, Dirk Diggler 9th, and Jelmer crosses the line in 10th spot. So that's been it from the Czech Republic, from our Brno circuit here. Next week comes into our 7th race of the season, and where are we next week, McToasty?
Next week,
I believe is it Indianapolis, maybe?
Indianapolis was the second. It is Rouen-les-Essarts, France.
No, that will be a difficult race. Over to France.
Yes, it will.
Rouen-les-Essarts. Well, I'm very much looking forward to that race. We've got to be careful for the curbs over in the French track. So, but yes, from me this evening, it's been lovely to have you. Thanks very much for joining us here at Flux Motorsport TV. Another wet affair at the GT1 Championship. We'll try and go into a little bit more detail with the drivers about what happened in the pit lane and what happened to Booth, and whether he did get involved in a kerfuffle there with one of the stewards or not for next week. But thanks very much from me. It's been lovely to have you. And from you, McToasty?
Yep, looking forward to that French track already. Hopefully it doesn't rain there as well.
I'm already doing my rain dance as we speak. But yeah, from us here at Flux Motorsport, thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.